It's a grizzly.
Should we get out of here?
No. We're gonna watch and listen.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome. Hello there, Gary. Hello there, Gene Hudson. Welcome everybody. Everybody sliding in on this Thursday afternoon. Thanks, Karen. You got the afternoon, evening. So how you doing, Mr. Decker?
I'm doing all right. It's been a pretty good week down here in Florida. We've had freezing temperatures, and now today we were almost in the 90s. So it's been quite a swing down here in temperatures.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what we got rolling on tonight?
All right. Tonight we have a very special guest. We're going to have a little bit different kind of show. We don't have a researcher. We don't have an author or anything like that. But what we do have is an artist. All right. So some of you may have heard of this gentleman. He produces Bigfoot artwork. And one of his big themes is hidden Bigfoot. So he'll have an amazing painting that he does. Somewhere in the painting is hidden a Bigfoot or multiple Bigfoots. He does a lot of other artwork as well. He produces a calendar. If you ever listen to the podcast called Weird Darkness with Darren Marlar, you have heard an advertising the calendar. I got to meet this gentleman in person, and we talked and became friends, and I'm really excited to have him on tonight. Timothy Wayne Williams. Tim is going to be our guest tonight. We're going to have a great conversation. I'm really excited to have him.
All right, let's bring him in. Tim, come on down.
Yeah, let's bring him on.
Guys, how you doing?
Wonderful. Nice to have you. So tell us all about yourself.
Well, my name's Timothy Williams. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. I was a fine artist for a long time, and I also worked in the printing field as a graphic artist. And I decided a few years ago to start putting Bigfoot, hiding Bigfoot in my paintings, and it blew up. And it's amazing. I was able to quit that job of 33 years and do nothing but paint now. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been I've been extremely fortunate. I'll just say that.
And you also have a background in what, photography and music as well?
Yeah.
Just
photography, not so much. I did work for a paper for a short time, but I was a professional musician for a long time, and I was a drummer. And I tell everyone I was this close to becoming a rock star, and I'm not kidding. You know? Seriously, I was this close. You have no idea. Like I was getting ready to go to a recording studio with my band to do some special demos, and we were waiting for Guns N' Roses to get out of the studio.
Oh, nice.
Canada, and then before that got to happen, it all fell apart. So yeah. So I was like, so believe it or not, painting is actually my fallback. It's like, it's plan B. But once I started painting, I was like, I should have been doing this the whole time. Because I was an okay drummer, but I think I'm a better painter.
Well, I've seen your work, and it's all amazing. You know what I mean? Like even your stuff that's not cryptid oriented, you still do amazing work. You know, I'm not a professional. I'm not an art critic or anything like that. But, I mean, what I've seen is absolutely wonderful.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
What gave you the idea to start putting in Bigfoot to start with? And I know you have some other paintings with like Loch Ness Monster and stuff in it. What brought you to that niche?
Well, it's funny because I was, painting for, normal fine art shows. And I listened to, I've always been interested in the paranormal. And so I was listening to a paranormal podcast of some sort, and they were talking about Bigfoot. And I was doing this landscape, and I thought, now, wouldn't it be funny if I just put a little Bigfoot in the background here, And I just did it for my own amusement. I didn't tell anybody. I probably sold 24 paintings that I hid a Bigfoot in it. Never told the people who bought the painting that there was a Bigfoot in it. I just thought it was kind of funny. I thought maybe someday they'd be walking by it and kind of be like, "Hey, wait a minute, what is that?"
Yeah.
So anyway, I was having a really slow art show one day, and to keep people in my booth, I started telling people, "Hey, you see if you can find the Bigfoot in this painting." And I realized people were really digging it. They really liked, doing that, searching for it. So when I got home, I immediately looked to see, I wonder if there's any Facebook groups about Bigfoot, and there's like a million of them. And so I joined some of those groups, and I started, posting some of the paintings. They were just kind of, just being like, "Hey, what do you guys think?" And I got 1,000 likes on one of my first paintings, and it was like, okay, I might be onto something here. This is way more exposure than I ever got just doing regular fine art. So, and plus I love the subject matter, and the art shows that I used to do were, they were good money, but they're very stuffy. Most of them are outdoors, very annoying. And once I started doing paranormal conferences and everything, and started meeting nice people like yourselves, it's just it's so much more fun. Just those kind of conferences are fun. The people are nicer. It's just more interesting. So I finally threw in the towel with the fine art shows and was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick with the paranormal side. It's funner, and I'm making more. I'm making consistent money with it. So that's sort of it.
I was really hoping, I'm not going to lie, I was hoping for a Bob Ross connection in there, because there have been episodes where Bob Ross talks about putting in a little Sasquatch hiding in some of his paintings.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. For people think it's just a meme. No, that's a real thing.
Yeah, I think it is. He did those shows 45 minutes from here.
Oh, really?
It used to be in Muncie, Indiana. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. I was really hoping for that, but everybody's got their own inspiration.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, I bet you watched a lot of Bob. I really didn't, I'm not going to say I don't use a couple of his techniques now, but I never really was that into him. I mean, I like the guy. A lot of really, heady art people like to criticize him and call him a hack. And I'm like, hey, he never said he was the next Rembrandt. He said, hey,
no,
I do what I do, and it makes people happy, and it makes me happy, and that's all that's important. And I respect that a lot from the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I consider him the first ASMR guy ever.
Oh yeah.
Right, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big arts person, but me and the kids, we would just put on his show and watch his show and enjoy the calming effect, the peace, and just watching these pictures just come alive before your eyes. You know what I mean? So it was fantastic. It doesn't matter if he's art, and this, you're an artist. Art is so much more than being a Rembrandt or being, Monet or any of these other things. That's not what it's about at all. You know what I mean? That's not the whole point of it. Anyway. And so
Bob Ross got his gig, don't you? Does anybody know? So they were looking for somebody to paint, and they couldn't find anybody. And when he went to audition, he actually did a painting in less than 41 minutes. And holy cow, he can actually do this. We don't have to edit. That's how he actually got the job.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's
yes.
Huh? It makes sense because I
actually did an ASMR video of me painting. So if you get on YouTube, and it's a campfire painting ASMR.
Nice.
Throw that out there before I forgot.
So from putting Bigfoot and hiding them into, you've progressed to more stuff, right? Like at your show, I saw a couple of just absolutely amazing pieces that were like Loch Ness, right? With with the Loch Ness Monster in them, and it's a landscape piece, and it's absolutely stunning. I believe it was like a series of 3 or something like that I was looking at.
Yeah.
So it's cool because the focal point isn't the Loch Ness Monster. The focal point is this beautiful landscape that you put up there. But then, just as almost like an Easter egg or a bonus, down in the loch, you have the Loch Ness Monster. I think that's an absolutely wonderful way to kind of do a painting. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I start out with, I just want to make a beautiful painting to start out with, you know, and I go from there, and then I look at it and go, you know, could this use a cryptid in it somewhere, you know? And sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes I'm like, no, I don't think it needs a cryptid in it. And,
Mhm.
and other ones I'm like, you know, I find, you know, there's a good shadowy spot over here. This would be perfect for it. And yeah, I've done a bunch of different cryptids and whatnot, lots of ghost.
Mhm.
I've tried some other stuff. I had a creepy experience. I had a guy ask me to do a Wendigo, and
Okay.
I didn't know much about him, and I kind of read up on it a little bit, and it was pretty creepy. And I had like a creepy dream, and I was working on it, and the painting was not going well. And I kept walking by it in my studio and looking at it, and it would just give me the creeps. And then there was one day I got up, and there was like I hadn't heard the word Wendigo like in years. And then one day I get up, and it's like I think I was looking at IMDb and this for some information on this actor, and like one of the movies he was in was called Wendigo. And then I went somewhere else, and there was another Wendigo, and then there was another reference to Wendigo, and I was all like, okay, now this is creepy. And so I actually turned it down. I was like, you know, I don't know, something about this painting just doesn't feel right. It just creeps me out too much.
Wow. That tells you a lot. I mean, Wendigo itself is a creepy critter anyway. We've covered him on the show before, you know, and so definitely awesome. I don't know why we didn't think of this and prepare this to send Grizzly some shots of some of your paintings. Do you have any there handy that you can just kind of hold up to the camera so people can see what we're talking about?
Yeah,
I apologize, guys.
Sure. No, it's all
I
right.
dropped the ball. I apologize. I totally dropped the ball. I don't know how fast you can pull it up, Grizz, but if you can find his Facebook, he's got stuff on there. But look at
You're
this artwork,
looking-
guys. This is absolutely wonderful.
Let me see if I can get it all on the thing. This is one of my favorites. This one has not sold yet, surprisingly. But it's kind of like a deep in the Louisiana woods kind of scene.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bigfoot is actually right here.
You had this one on your Facebook. Yep, hiding under the log.
Let's see what else I might have.
See, just absolutely incredible paintings, guys. That's the cool thing, right? It's not just, you know, some person out there drawing Bigfoot. They're actually beautiful scenes. You could put these up in your house. I mean, look at that. Put this up in your house and be proud of it, and then be like, oh, hey, by the way, there's a secret.
Yeah. It just adds just that little element, you know, just something special, something extra. This one actually doesn't have anything hidden in it, but I'm real happy with this one. That one turned out real well.
Absolutely,
I like painting the glow of light, especially lanterns and stuff.
That's awesome. I know I've talked to Jennifer, my fiance, and when we get our house this next upcoming year, this year actually, I guess, we're going to definitely talk to you about getting some prints for the house because she fell in love with them too. Now Jennifer's the artistic one in the relationship, and she just absolutely loved them. And I already told her. She's actually ordered your calendar, by the way.
Oh,
we're gonna have your calendar up in the house too.
Fantastic. Yeah, this one has a dragon in it, right over here, and
awesome.
It has a ghost down here. might be kind of
Nice.
see. But yeah, I love castles and stuff like that. And I love creating, it sounds kind of weird, but I love creating worlds,
Yep.
creating the.
And I gotta say, just from our perspective, from the 14 paranormal, you can open up all kinds of worlds. There's so many things you could put in your pictures.
Oh,
You know what I mean? You got Bigfoot, you got Dogman, you got ghosts, you got UFOs, you got aliens, you got chupacabras, you got rakes, you got all this stuff. So I think you're really onto something. I haven't seen anybody else at your caliber doing stuff like that, and I think it's absolutely fascinating.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Now, to go along with it, you've had some paranormal experiences as well. Did those things kind of lead to your love of the paranormal and ultimately lead to you adding this stuff to your painting? Or are they two totally separate kind of coincidental issues?
I would say I loved the paranormal in general first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember, I'm of the age where I remember my dad getting me in and we watching In Search of, with Leonard Nimoy. I know a lot of people my age, that show was so influential. And that's, when I saw the Bigfoot episode, I was like, oh my gosh, monsters could be real. That blew my mind. Then later on, my uncle had given me a book that was called Strange Stories and Amazing Facts. And I think it might have been like a Reader's Digest type book, but it was just nothing but like ghost stories and cryptid stories and just stuff that, no one was talking about back in, the mid to late 70s. And
right.
So that influenced me like you would not believe. But later on is when I had some weird encounters well into adulthood.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into those. I know everybody loves a good story, especially a personal experience that happened to you. You can do it. I know you've got a couple, however you want to organize them, like chronologically or the most impactful or however you want to tell us. Let's have it. Let's dish.
Okay. I have a demonic encounter and I have what I think is kind of an angelic encounter, and they're very unique. So, we talked a little bit about me being a musician way back when. Well, when I was in high school, I had a band I had formed in high school, and we were, trying real hard, and we rented out a music hall in Anderson, Indiana. And we had pulled a bunch of money together and bought all this equipment, and we were setting up, and we were going to have a big show. I think we were there a Friday night, and we were going to have a big show Saturday, and we were setting up everything that Friday night. Well, this music hall, there was really nothing to it. There was like two big garage doors that you would load in and load out. And there was then just the in and out door. And it's just this huge hall. And we had set up everything. Everything was good to go. We were just thinking about leaving. And we were all gathered around the soundboard, which was kind of in the middle of the hall. And we had closed the garage doors, everything. And all of a sudden, we hear this weird cackling laugh. I mean, out of nowhere, this cackling laugh, like someone had heard the funniest joke anyone had ever told them. And we look up, and sitting on one of our PA speakers was this guy. If you've ever saw the movie The Shining, he looked like Scatman Crothers. He was the guy who played he's the one who told the little boy what The Shining was. He looked like that guy. And he was just laughing. There was nobody around him, no reason why he should be laughing, but he was just laughing his head off. And we're all looking at each other like, what is going on? Who let him in? And everyone's kind of like looking at each other. So finally they kind of push me up, of course, to go talk to the guy. I'm like, great, me. So I go up there and I'm like, hey man, what you doing? What you doing here? And he said, hey, I got something for you. You're gonna love this. I got something for you. It was like out of a cartoon. He reached behind his back. I still don't know how he did this. And he pulls out a stack of Polaroids, and his fingers could barely fit around them. I don't know how you can reach behind your back and do that. But anyhow, he pulls out the stack of Polaroids, and he's like, I got some for you. You're going to love this. And he starts showing me these Polaroids, and they're the unbelievably explicit, pornographic shots. And I was like, oh, okay, this guy's a pimp or something. Okay. And I'm like, no, I don't want any of that. That's not, don't need that. We're good. And he's like, no, I can get you anything. And I'm like, okay, maybe he's a drug dealer or something. No, I'm good. Kept telling him that. And then he looked at me real serious. And he's like, no, listen, I can get you anything. What do you want? What do you want? What do you need? I mean, he got real serious, looking straight at me. At one point, one of the other guitarists came up and he was kind of standing, next. Matter of fact, he started going through the Polaroids like it was nothing. But he kept just staring deep into me. And it was like, I can get you whatever you want. And I was like, no, I don't want anything from you. And so I kind of grabbed that guitarist and I'm like, come on, dude, let's go. And I pulled him back. And by the time we're talking 30 feet, we walk away about 30 feet to where about the soundboard was. And we kind of huddle. And in the time it took me to look down and everyone huddles and someone says, okay, what is he doing here? And I looked up, because I didn't want him to hear me, what I was going to say. Mm-hmm. And I looked back up and the guy was gone. And there's no way he could have got out without either opening a garage door, which would have been obvious, or walking right by us to get to the other door. So we like looked around. We're like, where did this guy go? Never did find it. And it's like the guy just appeared and then just kind of disappeared. And it was weird. People have years later have said, oh, that was your crossroads moment. That was you could have sold your soul to become a, famous musician or something. But
that was the exact thought that I was having. I was like, wow, is that what every band on their way experiences in some shape or form? Is that the moment where they can, sign for or not sign for? We always hear about these, I don't want to say conspiracy theories, but we hear about these things of, the bands that make it big are because they signed their souls away. Because, I mean, let's face it, some of the bands or singers or whatever that are ultra popular really aren't any better than many of the people that are out there. I personally know some amazing musicians that are better than the so-called superstars, but they never made it that big, and they didn't get that break, that chance, so to speak. That's the first thing that popped into my mind, but maybe that's what that was.
I know at that time in my life, I was extremely poor, and I was desperate, and I really thought this was this was the only outlet I had in my life, was to become a musician. So I don't know. I was very vulnerable, but luckily I think I kind of read it for what it might have been, that this was not good. And, so.
Wow, definitely showed some discernment there for that one. Wow, that's, and you're right. You had said before that it was going to be something I've never heard of before. And that is something I've never heard of before, that kind of exchange. That's absolutely, I mean, it's terrifying on one aspect, you know what I mean? But the academic in me is going, wow, that's absolutely fascinating. And I could sit here and ask you like 100 million details about what he looked like, what he sounded like, and all this kind of stuff. But that's just the nerd in me.
Yeah, no, I don't care.
Wow. Any questions from the audience about that? I mean, I'm seeing the chat is going absolutely crazy down there, Grizz. I haven't seen that kind of activity in the chat room for, man, I don't even remember what episodes. Let me see. What do we got? Or is everybody just chalking it up tonight?
Saying hello to everybody. Hello to Jennifer and Nada. And
okay.
That's pretty wild.
Everybody's just talking. All right. Well, so you gave a description. I'm going to have to pull it up, and I know exactly the character you're talking about.
Yeah.
In The Shining, he was the caretaker guy.
Yeah.
Who kind of explained what was going on with it. And most people miss the fact that that's what the movie was about. It wasn't about Jack Nicholson going crazy.
Exactly.
I mean, that was kind of the setting of the story, but it wasn't the true story. I know when a lot of people watched the second one, first, a lot of people don't realize there is a second one to it. And they didn't understand how it was connected with the first, except they had the kid in there as an adult. That's because they didn't understand the story. Standing Stones wants to know, do you paint from the top of the picture to the bottom?
Usually, especially with landscapes. Yeah. Usually start with the sky and kind of build on that and work my way down. Yeah.
Okay. What?
And how long
Brian,
how long does a project usually take?
Okay.
It depends on how much detail I put in on it and how big it is, because I do all sizes and everything. If it's a small painting and maybe not a lot of detail, I could do one in a day, if I get up in the morning and work on it. And sometimes I'll work until right before bed. I could do one a day. But larger ones, a couple days, 2-3 days, just depends. Sometimes I'm really in the mood to put a ton of detail in it, and then other times I want to be a little more impressionistic and not go quite as detailed. And so it just depends.
Okay. I know I met you at the Lexington conference up there, the Cryptid Con. Do you do do you travel around the country? Do you stay mostly in the Midwest, kind of South area? Do you get around to all these conferences? Like, what's your range to get out there so our audience can maybe find you somewhere at one of these conferences?
Well, the thing is, because I have to take my booth set up along with me, I can't really fly, because I've been invited to like a lot of the major ones like out west, and it's like I would love to do them, but I would have to drive, and it's like I've got kind of an old Nissan Armada, and it's getting up there. It's like, I don't know. It's like I've kind of pushed it, and I went to Florida this past year, which was a great show. It was awesome. I hope I can do it again, but I don't know. I don't know if my car will make it or not. But yeah, I tend to. Long story short, I tend to stay around the Midwest. Just something that's not too far to drive to.
Sure. Brian was wondering, what is your dream project? Like, what is something that, what's Tim's dream project that you have yet to do?
Ooh, that's a good one. I want to do a large scale historical piece. I love history. I'm all about it. And if you go to, some of the bigger art museums, you see these gigantic pieces that are like take up an entire wall. And I would love to do something like that sometime. Of course, it would take years to probably complete something like that. But
now you'd say historic. I'm envisioning, George Washington crossing the river in the boat kind of a thing. Are you talking like that kind of historic, or are you talking maybe the Roman Colosseum, like
any or
what
all
kind of thing?
I
Okay.
love all
Okay.
history. I'm actually super into World War II history. There was a time there where I actually kicked around the idea of going back to school and becoming a historian, but
Oh, wow. Okay.
kicked it around.
Now, you said you've had a few encounters. Leanna is asking, have you had any ET encounters or experience? So extraterrestrial or aliens?
No, but I do think I saw a UFO one time, not
Oh,
too
okay.
long ago. It was only like 2 years ago. I was driving to see my mom, and it was night, and there was this weird light, and I remember thinking, "Wow, that's kind of low." And it was by this farmhouse, and it was out in the middle of the kind of countryside, and the closer I got, I was like, that is such a weird spot for that light to be. And I'm like, that's awfully close to the road. And then I'm like, somebody, put a weird spotlight there. That's really strange. And when I got closer, it was like, I looked at it and it was this very angular, weird shaped thing. It wasn't a traditional like oval craft or anything like that. It just
Hmm.
had lots of angles. And and the light had gone out by the time I got up to it, and all I saw was just this thing, and I was like, at my first glance, I was like, that thing, what is that on? It must be on a pole or something. What is that? It's really low, but I saw it, drove by, and then was like, could that have been something, And I wasn't sure. And then when I was leaving my mom's and drove back, I looked in that spot and it was gone. There was nothing there. So
Oh,
whatever it
wow.
was, yeah, I drove right by it.
Well, I mean, by definition, that is a UFO, an unidentified flying object. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's awesome. That is fantastic. Tammy Johnson, she wants to know, do you sell your pictures online? How can they
Yes.
track you down?
That is where I do 90% of my business. If
Uh-huh.
if you find me on Facebook at t.w.williams Fine Arts on Facebook, that's the best way to get a hold of me. And
There you go. Well, we'll bring that up again at the end of the show, all the ways they can contact you and get a hold of you and stuff. All right, you said you had what you thought was an angelic encounter
yeah,
at
this is
one
another
point.
one
Let's
that
talk
I
about
think.
that one.
Yeah, I think this is another unique one. I've told this story before. It has to do with a toilet. Believe it or
Oh,
not,
okay.
the angelic encounter has to do with the toilet. So when my wife and I, when we first had kids, we were very poor. And matter of fact, I think my wife wasn't working at the time. And we were struggling, how young families are. And we realized we needed a new toilet. And so, I was thinking, I think I can do it myself. I think I can replace it. I'm not real handy at all, believe me. But I was all like, how hard could it be? I'll just take it off, and when I put a new one back on, I'll just do it in reverse. How hard could it be?
Mhm.
So I took the old toilet off, and I braced the family. I was like, I don't know how long, we're going to be without a toilet. So here's a bucket. Go in the garage.
Right.
And so I got everything disassembled. We had a new toilet. I could not get it to fit right, to go on. It just would not go back on right. And I was flabbergasted. I kept going to like the hardware stores, like plumbing section, and trying to talk to the plumbing experts, about it.
Hmm.
And those guys were all like, just baffled. They just did not understand the problem I was having, and we did not have the money to get a plumber. We just did not. So one of my buddies showed up, whose dad had been a plumber for years, and he had worked with his dad. He knew a lot about plumbing. I thought, okay, he's going to come to my rescue here. He came and looked at it, and he was baffled. He could not figure it out either. He was like, this is really strange. I have no idea. He gave up. He was like, I'm sorry, dude. I do not know what is wrong. So I was absolutely dejected. And I mean, it went on for a couple days like this, where the family was getting really upset with me, and I really was stressing. I was letting the family down. I felt like a terrible person. Everyone was like, oh, it's really easy, to do this. This is before the days of YouTube, so I didn't have any way to, look at tutorials or anything. And so I was just absolutely dejected. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to leave the house. I'm going to go to another hardware store and look in their plumbing section, and maybe something will, ring a bell or, give me an idea. So I was at this hardware store, just sitting, just staring at all the plumbing supplies, just going like, I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know what I'm doing. Really upset. And there's a guy about 20 feet away, and he's like, hey, what you doing? And I look over at the guy, and I'm like, it's like, I do not want to small talk. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know why he wants to chat me up, but I was absolutely not in the mood. And he just seemed like one of those people who just was lonely and wanted to chat,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty good with people, but I was in panic mode, and I just didn't want to waste time talking to this guy. So I was kind of trying to brush him off, but he kept being kind of insistent. It's like, no, what are you working on? What's going on? And finally I was like, all right, I'll tell you. And so I told this guy what was going on, and he doesn't say a word. He just walks like, I don't know, 10 feet away, grabs this part, comes back, hands it to me, and tells me exactly how to put it in. And I'm like flabbergasted. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this actually may work, it's blowing my mind. And about that time, my wife walks up, and this guy's walking away, and she goes, who was that? And I'm like, you will not believe this. That guy just gave me this part and told me exactly how to put it in. And I said, I think this is what I need. And she said, did you thank him? And I'm like, well, I think I did, but I'm not sure. So I went to go find him, and I saw him go into the next aisle. I saw him walk to the next aisle. I went to the next aisle, and he's not there. So I went to some of the other aisles, and he's not there. And I walked through that whole plumbing section and quite a bit of the store, actually, and never saw the guy again. It was just crazy. It was like, in my moment of this crazy need, this guy just came up, solved my problem, and walked away and disappeared, And so, I took the part home, put it in, and it worked perfect, So it was bizarre.
Wow. That is awesome.
I would say that it was, just total coincidence if I had seen the guy again, but the guy absolutely disappeared,
Sure.
So that makes me think it was angelic in some way.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It's like, I don't know if the Bible particularly quotes it this way, but the idea of, encountering angels unawares, entertaining angels unawares, you know what I mean? Basically meaning you won't know if you're interacting with an angel at some point. It's just kind of there. And the way he was able to know exactly what you were doing, exactly what you needed. And not only that, but just in my own experience, I've talked to people that are like professional at what they do, or they know how to fix this or fix that. And they start explaining something to me, and I'll be like, look, I got no idea what you're even referring to. I have no idea. Like, you can explain it to me all you want. I'm not going to be able to actually do this. So for him to be able to relay it to you in a way where you could go home and do it,
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's amazing in and of itself. And you know what? A key factor in there is when you go to look for them, they're gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even though it seems to be a mundane experience, that part of it is not. I mean, I can go shopping at Walmart and see the same person 38 times. You know what I mean? Like, it's normal. But I know in the encounters I've had in my life where it's been something like that, it's always the same thing where the person literally just is gone.
Yeah.
It's gone, I can remember one time specifically, which kind of popped into my mind when you were talking, with my first child, when my ex-wife and I were still married with our first child. We were mall walking because we lived in Wisconsin and it was cold and we wanted exercise. So we were mall walking, and it wasn't packed. There was people in the mall. It wasn't like so crowded we couldn't walk or see anything. And out of nowhere, this elderly gentleman appears next to us and has this great big smile, something to us about the family and looking down and stuff. And then he literally just reached out and put his hand on our kid's head and prayed a blessing over him and smiled and walked off. Now, this happened so fast. Anybody that knows me knows that if somebody is reaching towards my kid or somebody that I'm protective over, you're not going to get there fast enough to touch them because I will react, But this happened so fast and it was so stunning that I couldn't even react until after the guy had walked away. And then when we looked to see him, he was gone. We couldn't find him anywhere. And it wasn't like it was a big crowd where somebody would just melt away. It was literally like he just kind of veered off and then we couldn't see him anymore.
Yeah.
It was, exactly. No touchy the kids. And I'm very much that way to a fault, but the key thing was the guy just vanished. And I don't mean he poofed, right? A lot of people think like they faded out or they poof and no, it was literally you look to see him and there's nobody to see.
Yeah. They just kind of get out of your eyesight and then.
Yeah, exactly. And I've had other experiences like that, but I've talked about it to show other angel encounters, as I call them too, because of that fact. You look up and the person's gone.
Yeah.
I saw some other questions. I was looking through the chat. Brian was asking, what was your favorite historical period? And you said World War II was one of your favorites, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
Jennifer. Go ahead.
Mostly just the European theater.
Sure. Okay. Jennifer, my beautiful fiance, is watching. She was asking, have you painted any like biblical scenery or any biblical scenes or anything like that?
Yes, I have. I have done Saint Michael a few times. I really like that.
Okay.
I'll paint a church every now and then. I'm trying to think. Oh, I painted David the night before he fought Goliath.
Okay.
It was kind of this concept piece I had worked on for a long, long time. And I incorporated the 23rd Psalm in it.
Okay.
And, So, I have done some of that.
That's cool. Here's what I'm envisioning, and maybe sometime in the far, far future, I'll commission this from you. Can you imagine a Garden of Eden painting, with the serpent, Adam and Eve, but then having a Bigfoot peeking out behind the tree? Like, let's do it all.
I like it. I like it. No, I have tried to paint like Eden a few times too, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. Let me see if there's any other questions in here. I'm scanning through. Yeah, people are saying that definitely sounds like an angel encounter. Like, absolutely. All right. Somehow we're talking about cats and dogs. Okay. They're chatty tonight. Have you ever thought about sitting down and painting your encounters?
I've been asked that. I don't think I would do the demonic one.
Mm-hmm.
but the angelic one, maybe. But you know, as I get older, it's getting harder and harder for me to remember what the guy looked like. You know, all I kind of remember about him was that he was younger than me, and he looked like he might have been a little homeless. You know, like just a little disheveled. He was kind of disheveled. And he just seemed, like I said, like one of those people who just was lonely and wanted to talk.
Sure. Yeah, Jennifer said you could do Bigfoot on Noah's Ark.
I did do.
Have you?
The biggest painting I ever did was 7.5 feet wide. And that was of Noah's Ark.
Wow!
So I have done Noah's Ark.
Oh, Leanna, you did miss the demonic encounter. You have to go back and check that out. That was the first one we talked about. It was interesting. One thing we never really had heard before, at least I haven't. So definitely go back, check it out. You can always go back and rewatch these. You can watch all the shows we've done on the Grizzly is on the Hunt YouTube channel. Feel free to check them all out. Jennifer mentioned the Noah's Ark with Bigfoot in it. Have you seen the one? I guess it'd be a cartoon, almost like a Far Side cartoon, where it's Noah's Ark and has the bubbles, the word bubbles coming out. And it's like, hey, didn't we have a pair of Sasquatches on here?
Yeah,
and the other bubble says like, well, I haven't seen them.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
that's awesome. I think that's hilarious. Any other encounters? I mean, I didn't even know about the UFO one. That's awesome.
Yeah, I hadn't planned on talking. I mean, that's not a great encounter. You know,
no, it's actually fabulous, man. Don't hold back. There's so many classic elements to the UFO encounter that we could point out. You're talking about the light that's there, it's hovering, the light going out, and then you just seeing a shape, an irregular shape, right? Those are like old school encounters of when they were testing the Blackbird and the stealth bomber, when they weren't telling people, and people were seeing this shape in the sky that looked like a boomerang, but it wasn't like any airplane they'd ever, you know what I mean? Those are all classic elements. Don't ever think that's boring to a researcher. That is exactly right, because it's non-sensational. There's nothing in there to go, well, he's trying to get attention. Look at the story he made up. There's nothing flashy to it, and that has the ring of authenticity to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So as a researcher, that is a awesome story. Absolutely awesome. So no, don't ever hold back on stuff like that.
I do have a weird story when I was in high school. And you know how when you go out, when you're kids and you want to go out in the country and find old houses, at least this is what you do in Indiana. You find old abandoned houses and go through them and try to spook yourself, you know. And
I don't know about teenager. Jennifer does that now. Like we go out and urban exploring and doing pictures and stuff. Yeah. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. No, that's true. That it's a lot more common now. But when we were kids, you know, me and a couple of buddies would go out, you know, in these cornfields, and every now and then we'd find an old abandoned farmhouse or something, and we'd go check it out. Well, one time we found this house and we decided to go in and check it out, and it was a spur of the moment thing. So we didn't bring flashlights or anything like that, but one of the guys I was with smoked. And so he passed around lighters. So I think there was 3 of us, and we had 3 lighters, and we go in this house, we're looking around. It's super creepy, you know. We were getting ready to leave, and we look out the door and we see a cop car coming down this gravel road, and we're like, oh no, you know, we're going to get busted for trespassing. So we're like, all right, everybody ditch your lights and let's get out of here, get in the car, you know. So we run out of that house, and I was the last one out. And as I stepped out of the doorway, there was a little step down, and I noticed this little glowing blue, what I thought at the time was a flame, on the ground. And I'm like, oh man, somebody caught something on fire with their lighter. It's like, I don't want to burn this place down, and so I start stepping on this thing, trying to get it to go out. And all the while, everyone's yelling at me, get in the car, And I'm like, I got to put this out. I do not want to start a fire. Well, it would not go out. And as we pulled away, we could still see this little blue. Now I look back on it and I think of it more of an orb of some sort that was glowing. And it was so strange because, I mean, the word orb wasn't even around back then. This was like, mid 80s, no one was talking about, orbs or, orb beings or, anything like that. And so it did not dawn onto me it could be anything like that. It could be some, a spirit or anything like, in that way. But all I know is I stepped on the heck on that orb and it did not go out. So I don't know.
Wow.
So just because it's me, I'm picturing a little fairy laying on the ground all days and like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
you're sitting there smashing on it.
be my luck.
Wow. So when you're stepping on this thing, did you feel anything? Did it feel like you were stepping on something like a marble, or just
No.
completely like it was a laser, like it wasn't even really there? You could just see it there.
The grass was kind of tall.
Uh-huh.
And I remember thinking, well, when I finally gave up and had to leave it, and I thought, well, it'll go out because I bet the grass will be kind of wet, or something. But it's like I jumped up and down on this thing and got in the car, and as we're pulling away, that thing is still glowing. And it's just like, that's really strange, and it should have, if I didn't stamp it out, then the wet grass should have put it out, So
what size are we talking about here? Like
it was a little bigger than a dime.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was about the color, the blue of, the bottom of a flame.
Okay. And just kind of sitting there on the ground. Wow. That's like two stories that I've never heard anything quite like before. I've never heard of anybody stomping on an orb trying to put it out before. That's pretty awesome. or you just really ticked off a fairy and you stomped it to heck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who knows? But that I've never heard. Like, you never hear stories of the interaction. It's always, I saw something way a ways and I walked towards it and it kept getting further away. But you're sitting there stomping the heck out of this thing. That is absolutely incredible.
Or you get it on film and you don't actually see it with your eyes.
Right, but yeah, there's no real specific interaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Grizz, Brian's got a really good question for you there.
I already answered it.
Oh, did you? Let me see.
But LOL.
No, he asked if, right above that, if someone is exploring an abandoned house and the police go by, is that considered a B&E or trespassing? That's a good question.
LOL, and somebody was like, all the above, then you get drunk test.
Gotcha. I'm following the thread.
Amy's like,
Stop it.
Stop it.
So. Yeah.
That's a good question, because I have known people that like to do urban exploring, and I think it's fascinating. I don't think it should be illegal as long as you're not vandalizing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know when Jennifer used to do it more often, she'd get the most amazing pictures. She's quite a photographer. And she would get these amazing pictures of these abandoned insides and just the way people left it and how just absolutely gorgeous. That's her artwork is through photography. And I think it's cool. Like I said, as long as you're not vandalizing stuff, I think it should be allowed. Absolutely.
The police in my hometown of where I grew up were actually kind of good about it. They would normally just kind of chase you out, just like,
Sure.
But you never knew.
Yeah, you never know. The police in my old town were kind of like that too. They were pretty cool about stuff.
Yeah.
They knew you were a teenager. They knew it was a small town. They weren't too hard on you. Well, Tim, we had again a lot. So go ahead, Grizz.
Cool. I was cool, but if you F with me, the wrath of God would come down on you.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. So Tim, Grizzly is retired law enforcement.
Oh,
But I
great.
was. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, people speed, people break the law. But, you know, if I pulled you over and you got a ticket like last week or last month, hell, I'm going to write you more than one ticket. So, because you didn't learn. I wrote
Fair
one
enough.
guy 3 tickets because he went 45 and a 25. He went 55 and a 35. Then he went 70 in a 55. That's how long it took me for me to catch up. So.
And did all 3 tickets stick?
Yeah, every damn one of them.
That's great.
So,
Nice.
I know everybody's
All
like,
right.
damn, Grizzly.
A little harsh. Me and you would not have been friends about 20 years ago, my friend. I'm just saying.
You know, I mean, trespassing, I would just say, get out of here. You know, get out of here. I wouldn't write you for stuff like that. But
Yeah.
But now there are cops, man. They would hammer you every time.
Well, listen, back in my youth, the cops would see me and my friends driving, they'd pull us over just to see what we were doing. Like we didn't even try this whole, you have no reason to stop us crap. It was like, no, they pulled us over and walked up to the car and said, hey, Justin, hey, Josh, how you guys doing tonight? What are you doing? Are you out causing trouble? Like, no, not at all. And they're like, yeah, right. That's how it was with me.
We had some of those too.
Yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. Is what it is. All right, Tim, everybody's talking. How, other than that one website, how else can they get a hold of you and get your artwork? And do you only sell originals? Do you have prints? Let's wrap this up. Plug in your work, man, because it's awesome stuff, and we want to get it out there.
Great. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, I used to have a website, and I was selling quicker than I could update the website, so I just got rid of the website. So I'm selling everything on Facebook and Instagram now, you know, just social media stuff. So if you follow me at t.w.williamsfinearts on Facebook, that's the best, or Timothy_Wayne_Williams_ on Instagram is another good place. If you're interested in anything at any time, you can message me and just say, hey, what's available? You know, and I can, you know, I'll more than happy to send you, you know, whatever I have available. You know, it could be 20 paintings, could be 5, just depends. But anytime you can ask me, you know, what's available. And my prices have gone way down over the last few years. So I'm extremely reasonable. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, guys, for the level of work that I know of from artwork, you're not going to find a better price for what you're going to get from him. Now, I am going to plug this for you as well, guys. He has a calendar that has a new Bigfoot picture every month. There it is. Jennifer and I ordered one because I told her in my house that's what I want our calendar to be. Reasonably priced. You can get that through him. It's a new picture every month, obviously, with Bigfoot hiding in it. And it's the exact same quality, amazing work that he does. So if you're not an art collector, but you want to have something cool, Bigfoot related with beautiful work in it, I highly recommend getting a hold of Tim and checking that out. Yeah. Super cool, very reasonably priced. I'm excited to be able to put that up when Jen and I finally get a house together.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. That's what I told her. I said, listen, I don't want you to buy anything for my birthday, but I want you to get us that calendar.
Nice.
Because I want that calendar in my house. So I want to put that out there for everybody. Tim, great show, man. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about your stories. Definitely some unique stuff out there. I know the listeners loved it. And I will probably hit you up to dig up more details on some of the stuff because that's what I do. So
Great.
I just want to say thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me.
Hey, not a problem, man. Not a problem.
And from coast to coast, around the world, ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you on the next show. Take care. Good night.
See you guys.
Thank you, Tim.
It's a grizzly.
Should we get out of here?
No. We're gonna watch and listen.
Action.
It's a grizzly.
Oh, shit, should we run?
No.
Action.
It's a grizzly.
Oh, should we run?
Okay. It's a grizzly.
Are you sure it's not a chipmunk? Action. No, get out of here. Action.
It's a grizzly.
I'm out of here.
Huh. Maybe it is a chipmunk. It's a grizzly.
Are we gonna die?
I don't know. We're just going to sit here and listen and watch.
Let's get out of here, maybe.
Fall!